and welcome to Vishnu's IAS Academy, Hyderabad. Your one-stop destination for making UPSC dream a reality. I take this pleasure of welcoming all of our online students and our dear offline classroom students to today's Hindu analysis segment, where, as you are observing in the last few days, the idea is to make UPSC relevant articles picked up from the Hindu Hyderabad edition, and then to make it easy to understand for us. We should know how to use this information in the mains, UPSC mains answer writing. We should also know that these facts are important for the prelims exam. So let's do the same thing today as we begin on a new month, that's 1st of July 2025, the Hindu Hyderabad. Moving down the main page of the newspaper, yes, it begins by some city-based newses, like perhaps there was some explosion in the pharmaceutical unit, in the chemical unit in Hyderabad. Quite a sad incident, not exactly UPSC relevant, but yes, sometimes these case studies can be used in your mains answer writing as we talk about safety protocols of various factories, chemical plants, textiles industries across India. This also reminds you of how very often in Sivakasi, in Tamil Nadu, in the area where too many fire making industries are situated, every now and then there is a fire that breaks out and young children and women become the main victims. So this case study, although not important in itself, but sometimes it should remind us of how we have so many under 14 years children who are employed in Indian manufacturing industries. It could be the, as we say, pharmaceutical sector, it could be the bangle making industry, it could be the cracker making, it could also be the beedi making industry. Now all these are very unsafe, and yet majority of the employees are women and children. It is an unorganized sector. So these case studies should be used here. Say about 80 workers were working in the unit, and this explosion meant so many of them losing their lives and others becoming handicapped or incapacitated. With that, let's proceed with the main agenda, and let's go directly today to the editorial page. Okay. Now, the very first article on today's editorial page is not something that's new, and before I do that, see, here comes one small observation on page number 7. Again, not a very critically important news for the exam, but we should know that in Amravati, the government has planned to establish a fully functional quantum computing center. Very recently, quantum computing has been in the news. Using the method of AI, artificial intelligence and computing technology, quantum computing leads to quick results. It is a very effective mechanism to achieve various science and technology feats. Hence, quantum computing as such becomes an important topic. Day before yesterday, we discussed in the newspaper how United States of America is now trying to liberalize a little bit its AI framework. Earlier, under the Joe Biden government, the US had become very closed. It had become very insecure. It said we will not be exporting our AI technology and quantum computing technology to other countries, especially to Russia and China, who in general are seen as the enemy economies of the US, as key competitors of the US. Then the Trump administration is now planning to make this policy little more liberal by saying that at least to friendly countries, including India and Quad nations, we should supply more and more of our AI chips and quantum computing technology. So this means a lot of economic development and technical development in the countries which are depending on this technology. So the technology as such, GS paper 3 UPSC mains, very important. The benefits and applications of quantum computing is something you should know for the exam. And now let's go on to the main editorial page. The very first editorial of today, as I said, is nothing new. You may feel it is again very repetitive. That's because when current affairs, a particular kind of current affair becomes very common, it becomes the talk of the world, it becomes the talk of the town. Every day you will have articles about that only. Let us quickly see what is it trying to say rather than just get worried about the tough words and how complex the article looks? Well, the article says in a perilous world, peril is danger, peril is a hazard. Okay, so we are saying in a very hazardous world, in a very dangerous world today, India has to be very cautious and very, very conscious about its foreign policy and its diplomacy. Yes, we can say it is about GS paper 2 that this article relates to. This talks about governance, it talks about polity, it obviously talks about international relations. Now in the upcoming mains exam, a lot of students have been asking me that is it highly likely to get a question on India-US relationship or Sino-Indian relationship? If you ask me, as of now, because so many geopolitical events are happening, West Asia and India's participation in the entire West Asian politics becomes very important. So India-Israel is very important. India-US definitely is important because of the tariff problem and the anti-immigration stand of the US government. Also, India-China relations are very important because China is a very strong ally of Pakistan. And recently after the Pahalgam attack and this Operation Sindoor, as this article is also saying, today for India, Pakistan is not the only threat. The nexus between China and Pakistan is happening to be a bigger threat today because it's true that China and Pakistan are having a deep-rooted military connection. No wonder China also supported Pakistan when Pakistan was trying to defend itself in the discussion of Pahalgam terror attacks. Okay, so do remember that India-China is very crucial because it also includes India-Pakistan. So these things we have to be very conscious about. You have to have good information to handle the IR based questions. Okay, so let's see what this article says. The word tea leaf here is a symbolic word. It is symbolizing China. We know that China's tea trade is very, very prominent. So therefore, in a hidden way, the article is trying to talk about that today the world is a very dangerous place. We are seeing that continuously. For the last 2 years, Russia-Ukraine war has barely settled. Just before that, Azerbaijan and Armenia, the Nagorno-Karabakh was in the news. That was also a very ongoing conflict. Then, talking about more recent developments, Israel-Palestine is an ongoing conflict. Right now, 21 months are over, the war is still happening. Today itself, as US says that now no more attacks will happen, today morning itself, there has been a bombardment in the Gaza Strip. Again taking a toll of so many people's life and causing casualties. UN is desperately trying to help with food and medicine aid, but that is also having a problem because of the blocked routes which enter into Gaza. They have to pass through Israel and that becomes a problem. So Israel-Palestine is ongoing. Recently in the last 2 months, what are we seeing? Iran-Israel war. How ugly that war had become, leading to speculations of a nuclear attack. Then US attacked Iran. The bombardment of all the three, Natanz, Fordow and Esfahan nuclear equipment in Iran by US again caused a major threat. Russia was ready to support Iran. So it was becoming almost like a global conflict at that point. So is this not a dangerous world? It is. Look at India itself. India is in a difficult situation right now. India has not taken a clear-cut stand to support Ukraine. Despite America's backing to Ukraine, NATO's backing, India could not because of the strong defense ties between India and Russia. India was hand-tied. Second, when Pahalgam attack happened in Pakistan, there was hardly any country who came loudly and supported India. Hardly anybody came and took a clear-cut support from Indian side. Again, India's hands were tied. Look at today's war between Iran and Israel, backed by US. Again, India's situation is the same. We are in a very difficult dilemma. Should we openly support Iran, given that it's a major trade partner, plus we have cultural historical ties? Iran has supported India at least in the past. Or should we stand behind Israel? Understanding very well that Israel right now is breaking all the protocols and continuing the violence. So what to do? That's what the article is exactly saying, that it is a dangerous world right now. Too much conflict is going on from every side. Plus India's own insecurity, that what if in future Pakistan launches another attack through Jammu and Kashmir, right? In this situation, what to do? Article says India should learn how to read. India should be very careful about the China-Pakistan nexus because our main enemy is not Pakistan only. Definitely it is Chinese military backing Pakistan. That's a major danger to face. So the article begins by saying that gone are the days, gone are those Nehruvian times when non-alignment and diplomacy would do wonders for India. India wanted to have a stable relationship with its eastern neighbors. India wanted not to say anything in between Russia and US. We wanted to be very, very multipolar. Multipolar, you are supporting all the poles, all the groups. You don't want to be enemy of anyone. Gone are the days. Now times are not so easy that you say I am non-aligned, I will not interfere, I am independent and that's it. It will not happen like that because today the India-Pakistan conflict that had happened in Pahalgam and then Operation Sindoor and how the world reacted to it. How US, despite saying that it's one of India's key ally, refused to support India clearly. Refused to accept the fact that India was not asking for mediation or arbitration. India only wanted acknowledgement of what is right, what is wrong. US did not do that. Imagine Pakistan was given a massive IMF bailout. Huge loans were given from the International Monetary Fund. Despite India crying that this money is used to do counter-terrorism, nobody bothered. Recently at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, India had a false face again. Our leaders had no choice but to refuse to sign that agenda because it said nothing about the Pahalgam horror attacks. Okay, so this is the situation of India right now. How can we continue to be non-aligned? Those days are over now. Today the danger is so much. China's deep military connection with Pakistan, as per the article, means that India has to be alert all the time. We know we have improved our defense expenditure, but that's not enough. Foreign policy wise also, now it is high time we have to come out of our comfort zone. We have to come out of our shell and start deciding whom we want to support openly, whom we want to criticize openly. Because we have military power, then why should we be so scared is what the article is asking. Now the article tells in the second paragraph, after China and Pakistan joint military partnership, India also is having a very confused situation in the West Asian region. During the Israel-Iran conflict, Iran expected that India will stand openly and say that Israel has done unnecessary military aggression. Iran should have been supported by India on the plea that Iran was being very open and transparent about its nuclear facilities. Iran was ready to negotiate and sit on the table with the US and the United Nations. Then why was it suddenly attacked? Rather than condemning these attacks, United States of America supported Israel and used for the first time in its military history a technology called GBU-57 bunker buster bomb. What is that? We have spoken about this if you remember. This is a special technology used to destroy those nuclear sites which are hidden deep under the ground. You can't locate them so easily, as Iran has done. All the three sites that were bombarded, especially the Fardow, if you remember the name. See, time and again, every day I take these names, not to cause monotony or to trouble you, but just because I know these are the questions that come next year in the prelims. Places in the news. Why was Fardow in the news? They can give you match the following also. They can give you one area from Ukraine, one from Palestine, one from Iran. And now you match which area corresponds with which territory. These are the questions that come. That's why I keep repeating so that you remember very well. Okay. So talking about Fardow, a massive nuclear facility created by years of effort by Iran, very deeply inside the ground, fully covered with mortar, concrete and bricks. Nobody could locate except one. United Nations GBU-57 technology. They used it and then they destroyed Natanz and Fardow completely. Today, US is proudly saying, the photo has come in the Hindu newspaper, that see, we have actually obliterated, that's the word they are using, obliterated. What's the meaning of that word? Completely ruin, completely finish, obliterate, remove from its existence. Today, US is saying proudly, we have obliterated entire Iranian Fardow and Natanz nuclear infrastructure. Now this was a backstabbing clearly. It doesn't talk well about great global powers. Why? Because clearly ceasefire was announced. After the ceasefire was announced, despite that US continued its missile attacks, despite that Israel was continually bombing the areas of Iran and unexpectedly again Gaza. So what should India do at this time? Is it okay to sit on the fence? Article is using an expression, sit on the fence. Here, this might confuse you, so let me explain. Sit on the fence means, it's an English proverb, it means to sit quietly and be a observer, to do nothing to help, be inactive, absolute passive. Can India afford to sit on the fence? It should not. If we today do not say anything, if we are very quiet and very diplomatic about West Asia, Israel is also correct, Iran is also correct. Tomorrow, if Pakistan and China jointly once again try to do some kind of attack or insurgency in our borders, how will we expect other countries to help us? That's the article's question. Which country will come in support of us? Nobody will come. Because if we want to be diplomatic and non-aligned, they will also respond with the same low energy, and then we will feel bad that we are not having any global support even when our demand is legitimate. We want to stop terrorism. Now the article says nuclear word used to be a taboo. Few years back, the word nuclear power or nuclear facility used to be very scary. Nobody liked it. Any country who would use this word would be slapped by the US and United Nations sanctions. Correct. But today it is no longer a taboo because all the countries are openly talking about nuclear power. Pakistan threatened us after Operation Sindoor that I have huge nuclear power. I am a nuclear country now. I am not scared of India's any Operation Sindoor. Keep attacking us and we will give you a good reply. China we know about. Israel has not declared openly, but the whole world knows it must be having a massive nuclear infrastructure already, which US will obviously support Israel and not talk about it. US power we very well understand. India itself is a nuclear power. What is the shame today in admitting that countries have nuclear power, even those who are a party to the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, NPT, or to the CTBT? All these countries today have massive nuclear infrastructure. So what is there to shy in it? We have to understand that this word is no longer a taboo, which means that whenever the question of nuclear power comes, India does not have to be scared now that I want to be neutral because the question is of nuclear power and I have followed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. No, gone are the days. Article says even if it's a problem of nuclear facilities and nuclear warfare in future, India should come out and say openly, this is my friend and this is my enemy, because only your friends will support you in your difficult times. A very diplomatic stand will call no partnership in today's world, because things like Quad, things like BRICS, all these are economic transactions. These are all economic forums. At best, they will help you promoting your trade, they will do military exercises with you, and they will do some kind of people-to-people tie with you. Apart from that, what will they do? Will they come to help you when a country attacks you? No country will come to support you. That time nobody comes, because all other blocs are not like NATO. NATO is a unique bloc, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. If one country is attacked, all other countries of NATO will come to its support, like what happened in the case of Ukraine. All countries from Europe and America came because they are a part of NATO. They will protect Ukraine against Russia. But for India, do we have any kind of organization that will stand behind us? Just like nobody came for Iran, nobody will come for us also, if today we do not take a strict stand against what we feel is right and what we feel is wrong. So therefore, India's neutral approach of being friendly with everyone has made us very uneasy today. Remember, right when the Prime Minister was talking to some other leaders who were a part of the G7 summit, recently that happened in Canada, and that was a big failure, by the way. During that time also, Indian government clearly said that we will always support the global south. Global south are all those developing countries like India who are poised to tomorrow become large economies. Hence, they should support each other through more free trade agreements, through lesser customs and taxes, and they should always try to have a strong position in the market as competitors of the developed northern countries, correct? So India always believes in solidarity and unity of the global south countries. But when India was attacked by Pakistan, how many countries from the global south came and stood behind us? How many said that no, Pakistan does not deserve any chairmanship in the United Nations Security Council? No, US has done a bad thing by hosting Asim Munir, Pakistan's senior military leader. Where how many countries came and said that no, Pakistan should not be given any IMF funding because it's a terror country. In fact, it should be put in the grey list of the FATF, Financial Action Task Force, how many countries did that? Nobody. So this friendliness or this friendship attitude is not going to help us, which means today let's become very careful, also because US is changing its colors. So gone are the days when in the previous regime of Trump, in the previous tenure of Donald Trump, Trump's attitude towards India was very different. India and US seemed to have not only a great bilateral trade relationship, but also geopolitically they had great partnership. Okay, but today in the second tenure of Trump, things are changing. Because today Trump is busy in talking about Make America Great Again agenda. America is the best. For them, the key enemies are Russia and China, but also in the process of becoming more big, in the process of their own, grandiose, and in the process of becoming the world leader, they have not stopped themselves from taking actions which have harmed India. Remember how on Indian goods, especially agriculture and textiles, how much tariff was imposed by the US. Despite our repeated negotiations, they were not ready to accommodate. Similarly, how the Trump administration was clear about immigration and visa approvals. They said that unless we have the social media accounts of all those who apply for the visa, thorough investigation, we will send back even those who are living in the H-1B visa in our country right now. People were scared because majority Indians are in the US, a critical component of workforce and student force. But what happened? Today the India and US relations are also not as smooth. We were shocked when Pakistan's leader Field Marshal Asim Munir was publicly hosted in US. US had no problem. US said that Kashmir is a bilateral problem. US did not say it was a terror attack by Pakistan. At that time, India felt very humiliated. That's also the reason why Mr. Modi refused to go to meet Donald Trump after the G7 summit in Canada. Again, that also kind of spoiled the relationship a little bit. So what are all these things showing? These things are simply showing that whether it's West Asia, whether it's Russia-Ukraine, whether it's US-Pakistan relationship, now is the time. Stop your sitting on the fence. Stop your diplomacy and please become more proactive. These are dangerous times. We should support those countries who we think are ideologically correct. Like right now, we should have said something in the favor of Iran. Similarly, when attack had happened on Israel long back by Palestine, we had condemned that attack. That was a good thing to do. That was a decent thing to do. But only supporting one country, focusing towards Israel, at the same time also not doing anything to stop Israel's action, not even trying to say something against it, just shows that India is being diplomatic. So this selfish diplomacy is not going to help anymore. Article says, please be alert. China, Pakistan are already forging a great military relationship because India needs more details regarding exactly how much weapons coming from China are already installed in Pakistan right now. We don't know how many J-10C and how many F-17 fighters are already with Pakistan. So in future attack, we will be in a very difficult situation. Also, let's understand that just like United Kingdom had done an internal check, it had done a review of its own security and defense. And once that was done, a lot of problems were highlighted. US realized that US is having weakness. They have less stockpile of weapons. They realized that they need to set up a new kind of weaponry system and a better cyber and electromagnetic command system to make sure that they are prepared for war anytime. Something similar India should do, because attacks like Pahalgam will not inform and come. We have to be ready for the war all the time. So merely giving a higher amount of GDP for defense or merely ordering more surveillance fighters and drones from Russia is not enough. Even on the front of foreign policy, let's be very clear about who will come to defend us and for whom we have to stand up and defend them, because the next attack, in case that happens, God forbid, could mean that China is already expanding its position in entire South Asia region. And China is very clear about it. China has said that if US tries to say a word also or tries to interfere in the Taiwan issue or in the first island chain issue, then China will not sit back. China will retaliate very aggressively. So similarly, today China has more weaponry, more preparedness. It has an advantage of 3:1 when India is concerned. And its ally is Pakistan, our major enemy. So better be prepared and better have a clear foreign policy. Quite an interesting article, slightly lengthy, but I think this gives gives you a good picture of India's foreign policy as it is happening right now. Okay, should you have any questions for this article, you can post in the comment box. Now quickly let me take you to the next article, same page editorial. It is about economy, GS paper 3. You may get such questions in the exam either this year or in the next year mains exam, because GST, the goods and services tax, has now completed its 8 years ever since it was introduced back in 2017. So in these 8 years, a lot has been accomplished and a lot of difficulties have also come up. But here this article is not in general talking about that how GST is an ad valorem tax. Ad valorem tax, a tax that is imposed on the monetary value of a particular good or commodity. GST is an indirect ad valorem tax, yes. But article is not in detail talking about GST. Article is highlighting a different problem. Article says that 8 years are over since the GST was imposed for the first time, and it was a good thing to do, frankly, because it is in line with India's one nation, one tax framework. A united taxation system means that less paperwork is there, less tensions are there, and the process becomes more coordinated and more smooth. Plus, the government revenue has also increased. For example, the total GST collection in 24-25 reached a record high of 22.8 lakh crore. That's a good sign for Indian government, and it is reflecting an annual growth of 9.4%. But there is a problem. There is one area in which GST should have been used very smartly, but we have not done that, and that is about India's public health. We are talking about tobacco control. Now, very sad but true that in India today, the number of daily deaths associated with tobacco consumption is very, very high. And let alone the number of non-communicable diseases like cancers, they are also very high owing to tobacco consumption. A small data reveals that about 3,500 deaths daily happen only because of tobacco abuse. Similarly, rupees 2340 billion annually, that's 1.4% of your total gross domestic product in 2017, was all about creating heavy burden because of these diseases and deaths. In that light, should we not have done some kind of a GST imposition on tobacco, so that people would have stopped consuming it or at least reduced its consumption? But that has not happened, because today, no matter how many benefits GST has, like interstate coordination is better, less people are today doing tax evasion. For the enforcement directorate, it's easy to catch those people who are evading tax, because GST is a very clear cut and a measured mechanism. It is even reducing your transportation time. So all these are good things. But the problem is that what about increasing tax on tobacco? In most other countries, a standard policy is to increase a lot of tax on tobacco purchase, so that automatically consumers are discouraged from buying tobacco. It saves their life. It's good for their health. Ultimately, it's good for the country, because believe me, the number of people who are dying because of tobacco are also from the age group of 13 to 15%, and then from 15 to 35 years. So 13 to 15 years, 15 to 35 years. These two brackets are the ones who experience maximum disease and death. This is also demographic dividend for us. So for us, it's a major harm. So many people dying unnecessarily. So the article is asking that why did we not create a stronger GST control over tobacco? Because India is today the largest consumer, the second largest consumer of tobacco in the world. 8.5% students under the age of 15 have reported tobacco use in some form. So, taxation, what is the main purpose of tax, by the way? The article is saying, what's the main purpose of taxing? As an English word, tax means to put a burden on something. The main purpose is to use it to stop something that's dangerous. But in India, taxation as an instrument of controlling tobacco use has not happened. The worst part is that the kind of expenditure we are doing on public health because of tobacco use is much higher than the total GST collection on tobacco itself. So it is not of any economic benefit either to us. So which means that during the post-GST implementation from 2017, the government has done very little to improve public health in terms of increasing the prices of tobacco products. Now, a lot of people feel that cigarettes are the area where majority tax should be put. But in reality, in India, especially in the rural economy and among the more poor, economically deprived segments, it is a more raw form of tobacco, raw form of cigarette called the BDs. They are more consumed and they cause a lot of smoke. Again, that endangers public health. So the article is saying today, why do not we create more burden on tobacco in general, more on BDs, to control the premature deaths among the poor population? That's what the article talks about. It also says that, interestingly, in March 2026, the GST compensation tax is expiring now. Once it expires, it again means that the total burden of tax on tobacco will become less. Prices will be cheaper and more people will again start buying tobacco. So in all, there is not much that we are doing to control tobacco use by the instrument of GST, which we should have done, because ultimately, whether it's GST or whether it's before GST, the tax that we used to use, the VAT, the ultimate purpose should have been to achieve public health objectives rather than merely focusing on the benefit that government gets from taxation. Now, let's understand that tobacco industry is also about illegal trade in India. Okay, so one of the studies has revealed that tax, if it increases also on tobacco products, the illegal trade will still continue. So India has agreed to the World Health Organization protocol, which says that we should eliminate all the illegal, illicit trading in tobacco products very soon, and we should try to stop as much smuggling of tobacco products as possible. But still, today we see that doing anything much with tobacco products has never resulted any much public health benefit. So addressing this issue as in increasing more and more ad valorem tax, value based tax on tobacco products, discouraging its public usage, stopping any kind of illegal trade are the things which will produce not only public health but in general economic benefit also. If the disease burden becomes less, it only means that the government revenue is higher. People's per capita income also improves. So overall, the article is trying to pitch for using taxes like GST, which can be very successful, but to control public health menace, not only to create more revenue for the central and the state governments. Okay. Now with this, let's quickly proceed further. There is one interesting article. So a small thing I would want you to notice from page number 10, it says that Bihar once again has been one such state which has not been able to register the total number of births that have happened in the state. How is this a danger? Major danger. GS paper 2, social justice. A state which is failing to register the total number of births, how will that implement vaccination programs like Mission Indradhanush, which aims to cover majority population under at least one dose of vaccination? So this scheme becomes important. Similarly, a state that is not registering its birth, how will they understand what is the total expenditure on public health? How will that be calculated? How will you understand the school enrollment ratio? How will you create better policies for primary education and primary health? Apart from that, now census is going to happen. Already the process has started in some states across India. From today itself, they are beginning the process of housing and counting the number of houses. Later, population counting will be done. If births are not registered, then how accurate will be our census data? So that's a question this article is pointing to. Just keep that in mind. Now let's see the last article for the day quickly. Okay, and this article comes in the end after the sports page. So we have already spoken about how Indian cancer drugs came out to be faulty in their sampling and testing. So this article I am not taking up because it's very repetitive. It just says that across 100 countries, Indian drugs were found to be ineffective and faulty. But just we cannot blame the manufacturers. The problem is also in storing, transportation and warehousing. Sometimes a lot of heat exposure or any kind of moisture in transaction can also spoil the quality of these high-end drugs. So therefore, it means that we need better protocols when it comes to supply chains. So extended producer responsibility can be introduced, which means those people who are producing, let them take the responsibility of the entire supply chain process also, or hire another agency which is more reliable, maybe private but at least more authentic, as it ensures safe delivery of drugs to the patients actually on the ground. So we will not take it up in much detail. Yes, this article I would want to quickly discuss in 5 minutes. We are talking about the geographical indication tag, the GI tag. Okay, what is this article saying? The article is talking about a very misunderstood theme, again very important for GS paper 1, 2 and 3 Indian economy. So we are talking about a word that is known as cultural biopiracy. You may have heard this word before. It is called cultural biopiracy. Piracy means cheating, copying somebody without permission. Cultural biopiracy means when you try to copy somebody's unique culture or somebody's unique manufactured product, somebody's traditional heritage based product without their permission, and then you steal it and you patent it or you take a copyright on it under your name. It's not a new thing. Countries like India, where we have rich tribal diversity, rich diversity of culture anyway, where we use so many herbs and spices, tribal medicines, Unani medicines, Ayurvedic medicines are very common. The whole Ministry of Ayush talks about alternate medication systems. It's very common that foreign companies come, they copy our medicines, sometimes their manufacturing processes, they go back to their country and then they patent it in their name. They get profits. What do we get? Our rural communities and poor people get nothing. They just see their product being cheated and they can do nothing about it. That's called biopiracy. India has long been a victim of biopiracy. Long back, 5 years before, there was a company in Germany called the Leaf Republic. It had come to India and then it had stolen our whole technology of making leaf-based utensils, utensils made with dry leaves, very common in Indian streets. And then it completely registered a patent on it. There was nothing much India could do. Similarly, long back in US, turmeric, haldi in Hindi, that was also patented in some company's name. We could do nothing much about it. It's a very common thing. But today this issue once again has come in light as a very famous fashion brand based in Italy named as Prada. That brand has copied India's Kolhapuri chappals, the Kolhapuri footwear, and they have created their own design. The best part is they have copyrighted the product in their own name. Is this not biopiracy? Is this not cultural misappropriation? That's what this article is trying to say. So the article says, in the first place, what is the whole concept of GI tag index? Why do we have it? The GI tag index is nothing but an intellectual property right. It was introduced back in 2003 as India had signed up and become a part of the Geographical Indication of Goods Registration Protection Act 1999. It came into effect in 2003. Since then, India has started giving GI index tagging to most of its unique products that are produced in a particular district or village within the territory of India. For example, the first one to have received this tag was the Darjeeling tea from West Bengal. But today we know that until it has the GI tag of Darjeeling, it will not be authentic. But what happens when foreign countries come and copy our products? What can we do in that situation? Article is saying that the whole purpose behind geographical tag indexing is to make sure that the goods or the products, they have a tag about which country, which locality, which region they were created in. They have to tell something about their place of origin. Today, India stands proud with 658 GI tagged goods. Very few examples could include the Chanderi silk saris from, say, Madhya Pradesh. Recently, there was a very interesting tag given to Kai chutney, a kind of food product created by the tribals of Odisha. Similarly, you have the Kanchipuram silk saris, you have the Pashmina, and all of these products. There are so many of them. Do you know which is the state which has highest GI tags? If you do let us know in the comment. Okay, so GI serves therefore as not only a protection of your originality, it talks about the authenticity of the product. It also tells how a country can take benefit from its unique skill and talent. It gives you export income in the world market. But sometimes what happens, trademarks are different from GI tag index. Trademarks are generally owned by companies, but GI tag indexes can be given to the producers of these unique goods. It is a kind of license and it is a kind of intellectual property, right? That this product can be best only made by you. You are the authentic manufacturer of this product. But the problem is that the entire GI tagging works within the country. Within the country, nobody can take your GI tag product. They cannot copy that because they will be caught. But what happens if different countries come and steal away your cultural symbol? Then in that case, what should you do? The article says that there are legal protection across the globe also to stop from such a thing happening, like the Paris Convention for the Protocol of Industrial Property 1883. Similarly, you had the TRIPS, the trade related aspect of intellectual property rights in 1995. All these make sure that even if one country is doing a biopiracy of another country's product, and if it is complained, action will be taken against that. But most of the times it doesn't come into limelight. It's very difficult for it to be discovered. For example, as the article is saying, that long back in India, somebody from US had created a patent for basmati rice. Now this is very strange because India has a long history of making basmati rice. Similarly, something similar happened when from India, turmeric was copyrighted as being a traditional medicine in US medical center in 1995. Again, India had to fight a battle for that and say that it is a part of our traditional medicine since generations, since ages, and then it was taken back. So therefore, what we really need today is that on a global level, we should have a more stronger enforcement of copyright infringement. Within the country, fine, we can lodge a complaint and things will be solved. But outside the domains of the country, it's very important that if such a stealth or if such a case comes into light, then you should have much stronger agencies at a global level, multilateral agencies, which should take a strict action and take back the copyright of those who are stealing such technologies from other areas. Now, for example, there is the European Patent Office 2000. It had taken back the copyright of a company which said that neem based antifungal is my copyrighted product. But that's not true, because again it was a part of India's traditional knowledge system. So to prevent such things from happening in future, we have to expand the traditional knowledge digital library, which can be accessed by people from many countries online platform basis, so that they know which is already registered, which is not, and such things are not happening. Because if continually such stealing happens, then the whole purpose of unique production and unique manufacturing gets defeated. So with that, I'll call today's session to an end. The last page article was interesting, but not exactly GS paper relevant. Yes, for essays or for ethics, we can actually consider it an interesting read, but it is more about social issue of gender-based education and gender-based socialization. So let's not go into detail of this article. I'll just tell you the article says that while less girls are studying STEM education, science, technology, engineering, maths, and why more boys perform better in science and maths as compared to girls, when there is no difference between their cognitive capacity and intelligence, IQ, quotient, then how come suddenly after a certain age in primary school there is a huge performance gap in science and maths between girls and boys? Ultimately, it's just about poor socialization. It's about faulty role taking, which tells that girls should take softer skills and boys should adopt harder skills. It is a kind of bias that people have, and if we want our young generation to become more skilled and to work better in the formal sector of the economy, we should try to prevent this kind of gendered ideas from spreading into children. We should encourage the same capacity for science, maths and technology among both the genders. That's the pitch of the article. So thank you so much for being with us, and see you soon with another interesting news session. Thank you so much.